Same privilege.
That's not what you said last night. Go ahead.
And that didn't sound right. Rick, let me know.
Okay, we're live.
All right, the special city council meeting Wednesday, July 29th has been resumed at 5:25 p.m. We are going to continue with the agenda. Thank you all for your patience. We will resume under ordinances, item number 1.
Ordinance number 1 reads, authorizing the Board of Control of the City of Youngstown to enter into an agreement related to the marketing of competitive natural gas supply for its residents for a period of 3 years.
Councilman Ray.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules of council, place ordinances 1 through 8, 10, 12 through 16, and 18 through 24, as well as ordinance 20-67 and ordinance 20-68 before council for passage pursuant to the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Okay.
Check those numbers.
Roll call on the suspension.
Adamzak,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas for the suspension.
The rules of council have been suspended. Are there any other remarks? Roll call. Yes.
Clarification. Are we still going to be doing number 11 as a separate?
Yes, we will.
Okay, thank
It
you.
wasn't included in this motion. It's going to be covered.
I thought it was. I'm sorry.
Any other questions? Roll call on the passage.
Adamzak,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas for the passage.
Ordinances 1 through 8, ordinance number 10, ordinances 12 through 16, and 18 through 24, as well as ordinances 20-67 and 20-68 have all been passed. Under ordinances, item number 9.
Authorizing the Board of Control of the City of Youngstown to negotiate terms and enter into agreement with P&S Bakery Incorporated.
Councilman Ray. Councilman Ray, go ahead.
Mr. President, there was a recommendation from a member to move that to the CPED. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Clerk, just call a roll to make sure everybody's okay with moving that to CPED, please.
We want to a roll call on that. Adamzak,
Yes.
Davis,
No.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
No.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
No.
and Turner.
Yes.
4 yeas, 3 nays.
Okay, ordinance number 9 has been moved to CPED committee by a vote of 4-3. Under ordinances, item number 11.
Authorizing the acceptance of the Project Safe Neighborhood Operation Steel Penguin 2019 grant.
Councilman Ray.
Mr. President, I'd like to suspend the rules of council and place item number 11 before council for passage pursuant to the agenda.
Roll call on the suspension.
Adamzak,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas for the suspension.
The rules of council have been suspended. Are there any questions or remarks?
Mr. President,
Councilman Hughes?
I think this ordinance was sidewinding with us because we had issues about it in the safety committee. And we were waiting for a response from the law department for clarification as to the use of the, the performance of the officers in using this particular money. We haven't got that information from the law department, and we was not aware that this ordinance was even coming. It did not come to the safety committee, I believe, as it should have, and yet we didn't get the response from the law department. We were concerned, we brought up concerns, and we were told that we would get a response. And doing this heightened awareness of porn that's going on throughout the country with protests and heightened police activity, this is what this is. We have over 5 different task forces working in the city of Youngstown, hitting every part of crime that we can get. And now we're going to double down with a special grant to pay people's overtime. And just one slight mistake and misunderstanding, then we got buildings and whatnot burning. We need to settle in, not bunker down right now with this type of program. This program is merely, in my opinion, targeting male Blacks that at one point hasn't done nothing that they're not aware of. All the other task forces going after everybody we know that's aware of involved in illegal crime. This one is geared, what they call just, let me follow you until you do something wrong, and then let me try to find something wrong. And I think that's my concern, but I think overall, they were less than genuine or disingenuous by not bringing it to us in the safety committee that it was even coming up, and not giving us the information that we requested and they told us they would give us. That's my comment.
Thank you, Councilman Hughes. Any other comments or remarks? Okay, roll call on the passage. Oh, Councilman Ray?
Anita had her hand up, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, Anita.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. Well, I concur to a degree with Councilman Hughes, because one of the things that we did speak about in the safety committee meeting was this thing about targeting people. And with this grant, which is strictly an overtime grant, they will be required to produce and stop people for the most insignificant infractions. And my concern, carrying over from the safety committee meeting, is that this grant, where it's going to be applied, where it's going to be targeted, will not be on the, I will say it will not be on the west side of town, and will not be up in the Brownlee Woods area. It's going to be on Market Street. It's going to be on Hillman Street. It's going to be on the south side of Youngstown. It's going to be on the east side of Youngstown. And the data, the people who are going to be stopped, it's my belief, because we don't have the stats yet, but the people who are going to be stopped and targeted will mostly be Black people for the least infractions. Okay, I'm going to say that, and in the future, I would expect these kind of things right here, even though it's money coming into the city, if it's going to end up being a special detail, a traffic detail. This is not the first special detail that we've had. Then it needs to be brought to the safety committee meetings for further discussion. Thank you.
Councilman Oliver?
Thank you. Through the chair, I was going to ask if it's my colleagues, is it too late to send this to a second reading, or what's the course of action at this point, since it seems to be up against some scrutiny here?
Well,
We could,
The preference would have been to recommend the sentence to committee before we got to the point where it's on the floor for passage. At this point, you got to vote it up or down. And so if you vote it down, they can bring it back. At that time, you can put it in committee. But at this point, the motion is on the floor. We're under remarks, but then after the remarks, it's either a yes or no. I saw Councilman Ray and then Anita.
yeah, Mr. President, I think there also would exist an option to rescind the motion of passage and then make a motion for a second reading to give additional time, if that would please Councilman Hughes and Councilman Davis.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes, that would be my preference if it is in order. If not, I'm perfectly fine going forward with my vote today.
Well, I would say it's not in order. I mean, like I said, the order is it's on the floor for up or down vote. And so,
Right, I'm prepared to go forward with my vote today.
okay, so I'm going to ask
I
for,
merely express my opinion.
I appreciate that. So if your colleagues are in support, they can vote it down. Administration can represent it and you guys can discuss it in safety at that point, if that's what you want to do. So at this point, clerk, if you want to call.
Through the chair.
Yes, Councilwoman Davis.
I voiced my opinion. I did not voice my vote. Thank you.
No one did. We're about to now.
I'm just letting people know.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And I apologize. I can't see everyone on my screen. I'm trying to toggle back and forth. So if I miss you, unmute and make yourself known.
Not a problem.
Clerk, the rules have been suspended. Hello?
Can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, roll call on the passage. I'm sorry.
Adamsack,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
No.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver. I lost Councilman Oliver.
Yeah, I think he.
He's connecting.
He's connecting now.
He is connected.
I'm back.
Councilman Oliver,
Okay,
it's on you for yes or no vote.
No,
Councilman Oliver.
no,
Did you? No, thank you. Ray,
Yes.
Turner,
No.
that's 4 yeas, 3 nays.
Okay, ordinance 11 has been passed by a 4-3 vote. It will not be an emergency measure. Will it take effect after 30 days? Ordinance number 17.
Authorizing the expenditure in the amount of $1,000 from the First Ward Discretionary Fund.
Councilman Ray.
I would like to make a motion to move this to the Finance Committee.
Second.
Okay. Ordinance number 17 has been moved to Finance Committee. Under ordinance number 25.
Accepting the attached fact finders report between Youngstown Police ranking officers and the city of Youngstown.
Councilman Ray.
Mr. President, I make a motion to suspend the rules of council and place item 25 before council with a yes vote to defeat it.
There a second?
Second.
Roll call on the suspension.
Adamsack,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
yes,
Ray,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas for the suspension.
The rules of council have been suspended. Are there any other remarks? Roll call on the passage.
Adamzak,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
and Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas to defeat.
Ordinance number 25 has been defeated with a yes vote. Under ordinances, number 26.
Rejecting the attached fact finders report between Youngstown Police ranking officers and the city of Youngstown.
Councilman Ray.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules of council and place item 26 before council for passage.
Is there a second? Roll call on the suspension.
Adamzak,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas for the suspension.
The rules of council have been suspended. Are there any other remarks? Roll call on passage.
Adamzak,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas for the passage.
Ordinance number 26 has been passed, rejecting the fact finders report. Under ordinances number 27.
Amending ordinance number 20-121 passed by Youngstown City Council on June 3rd, 2020, which authorized the Board of Control of the City of Youngstown to advertise for bids and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the construction of City Center to Milk Creek Metro Park Connector Project.
Councilman Ray.
Mr. President, I'd like to suspend the rules of council and place item number 27 before council for passage.
Second.
Roll call on the suspension.
Adamzak,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas for the suspension.
Rules of council have been suspended. Are there any further remarks?
Mr. President?
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes, Mr. President, I want to repeat my concerns about this piece of legislation. On this project, we just passed this thing on June the 3rd, and it was an increase at that time. And here we are now on June the 29th, I believe it is, going to increase it by another $200,000. I don't believe that we should continue to just go ahead and keep approving more and more expenses. We need to have when this thing was first brought to us as members of council, it was at $250,000. This thing is now over at almost $450,000. You know, that is, I didn't like it when it was $250,000. I don't like spending that kind of money on a bicycle trail for entertainment purposes. And one thing I certainly don't like is having them come back to the table again and again with these increases because they failed to go up there and properly assess how much the project is going to cost. I think we owe it to the public at this time when we are currently facing a $2 million deficit, can be facing another $2 million deficit. And here we are going to spend another $200,000 that can go towards reducing that deficit or not increasing it. You know, I just think it's not right on our part to continue to go down this path of taking us more and more into a debt. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Ray.
No, with all due respect, I definitely have an appreciation for Councilman Davis's view on that, but I just would say my 2 cents would be that we need to look at leveraging and what we're getting out of that investment in the whole project, and it's a major component for that. So it's a small investment in that connectivity, I think is worth it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Turner.
Thank you. Through the chair, you know what,
to Councilwoman Davis' point, and I definitely appreciate Mike Ray's, Councilman Ray's point as well. But we are asked on June 3rd for 770,000. It's now up to 972,000. That's 202,000 increase, right? So we're being told that we need to put this amount, this is the amount we're going to need, but we're going to underperform and try to only spend 800,000. One, that without having that in writing, that doesn't say for sure that we are going to only spend an additional 30,000. So we kind of are writing a check here. I feel like there's a better way to do this. I believe that this is a great project, and it will be great in our beautification efforts and moving the city forward. But doing business this way is inefficient, and it's not becoming of a city. So I'm just not in favor of moving this piece of legislation forward.
All right, clerk, I believe we're on the voting on this, roll call on the passage.
Adam Zach,
No.
Davis,
No.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
and Turner.
No.
4 yeas, 3 nays.
Ordinance number 27 has been passed by a 4-3 vote. Again, will not be passed as an emergency measure. Under ordinances number 28.
Amending the codified ordinances of the city of Youngstown and acting chapter 1707, facial coverings and social distancing during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Councilman Ray.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the rules of council and place item number 28 before council for passage.
Roll call on the suspension.
Adam Zach,
Yes.
Adam Zach,
Yes.
thank you. Davis,
DJ. Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
and Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas for the suspension.
The rules of council have been suspended. Are there any other remarks or comments? Roll call on the passage.
Adam Zach,
Excuse me,
No.
Oliver, Councilman Oliver, hand is up.
Councilman
Mr.
Oliver has-
President, you
Councilman Oliver, yes.
Thank you. I don't know if you could see me on your screen or not. I had a question for Tara or the mayor, whoever can answer it. Or is Tara still on the line? Because I'm on my phone now. I can't see.
yes.
For the chair, I'm here.
Hey Tara, how you doing? So my question with the facial covers or the mask, and I just want you to understand why I'm asking this question first. So I was in the military, and our biological warfare suits were pretty sophisticated pieces of equipment that would keep out any viral or biological agents should an enemy release it on us. And my concern is I don't want us as city leaders or city officials to give the citizens any false sense of security. So my question is, what is the science that says that the facial coverings or the mask actually do stop or slow the spread of COVID-19? Because just with my military understanding and going to a mask that's just basically made out of some cloth or whatever they're made out of. I think one of the masks I wear is just cotton. What is it that says that actually stops or slows the spread when the mask isn't even completely covering my face or nose.
Tara, you can
Councilman,
respond.
Councilman, this is Tara Chofi. So there are scientific studies and evidence out there that they do help prevent. I don't have a percentage with me right now on what that looks like, but you know, it's just another layer of protection. We are not going out there and saying, absolutely, you're not going to get COVID. You know, but we do know if these things are worn properly, that they will reduce the spread. So I can get you some information on that. I think what we've been really trying to educate people on is it being a layered approach. So we're using the masks in addition with the social distancing, in addition with the sanitizing, in addition with all the controls that we're asking our private sectors and facilities to do, whether that's restaurants or construction. You know, everybody has to kind of play their part. So it's just another piece to help with prevention. And like I said, I can get you more information on how they can prevent that. We know that, you know, this is aerosolized. It is in the air. So any kind of protection that we can get people to use right now is going to help with spreading it from you to the next person, from our breath. We've seen a lot of, in our contract tracing, a lot of choir groups, a lot of places that are excelling, our sporting events, things like that. So we know if we can kind of stop some of that spread from it getting out into the air, then we would see those numbers decrease.
So, but for you or the mayor again, Tara, so the idea is not that the mask stops the mask won't stop the virus from coming through the mask, right? So the idea behind this is if you're socially distanced from a person and you're wearing the mask would then kind of redirect it in a different direction. So if you're far enough away and have symptoms or have COVID, you wouldn't pass that on to the person that is socially distanced away from you. But the virus still could come through the mask.
Yes.
Tara, you can respond.
Again, this is Tara Chofi. So yes, it could definitely, we're not saying anything's 100%. It can definitely go through the mask. It's meant to be a protection to the person that you're speaking to, but that distance is just as key as the mask is. So, you know, worn properly and with that spacing and the other controls that we're doing, depending on where your location is, we've seen that they are effective in slowing the spread.
So, final question through the chair.
Go ahead.
So, in essence, by us passing this ordinance, we in essence then force the public to wear masks in order to slow the spread of COVID potentially. So is that correct?
Through the chair, this is Tara Chofi. Yes, I would say that would be the correct wordage and, you know, prevention techniques to help control and slow the spread of COVID.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Davis.
To the chair, addressing my comments to Tara, and tell me if my understanding of mask wearing is not is appropriate. That wearing a mask is like a prophylactic, kind of like wearing a condom to prevent or deter pregnancies. Condoms don't work 100%, but it's still suggested that in order to reduce your likelihood of making a pregnancy, that a man wears the condom. And so my understanding is that wearing a mask is in that fashion, which is if I have the virus, I would be, and I'm wearing a mask, I would be less likely to pass it on to you by wearing the mask. It may not be 100%, but it is effective, though not 100%. Is that right?
Councilwoman, this is Tara Chofi, and yes, I would say that's correct.
Councilwoman Turner, and then Councilwoman Adams-Act.
I'm sorry, I don't have any remarks to add to this.
Okay, Councilwoman Adams-Act.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is not a question, it's more so a comment. And based on the questions and the findings already presented to us, that is the reason that I feel it's important to encourage residents to wear masks, but not mandate them to do so. And I also feel that as a city, I don't want to put the burden on our YPD to be tackling this issue when there's so many other issues, as well as our health department when there's so many other things that they're dealing with as well. We already have a lot of ordinances on our books that sometimes we cannot follow through on and make sure that rules and regulations are being followed. So it's not that I am against wearing masks. I encourage residents to do so, but as a city, I do not feel that that should be mandated. And in the perfect situation that Councilman Davis stated, we're not fining and having an ordinance in place stating that people have to use protection when partaking in their sexual activities. So I will actually use that example in a similar fashion, but I encourage residents to be safe and wear masks and do what they feel is best for them and their families. But I do not feel that as a city, we should mandate.
Councilman Ray.
If I'm correct, I believe the state has a mandate out now to wear them anyway. So,
yeah, thank you. Councilwoman Turner.
Thank you. So I guess I have a two-part question. First is to the mayor. What can you give us just a clear understanding as what led you to put this legislation forth and the importance of mandating masks here in the city?
Mayor.
Mr. President, yeah, this is just based on the conversations we've had with Ohio Department of Health, their team, and what's happening across the state of Ohio. From my colleagues across the state of Ohio in places like Cincinnati and Dayton, who were actually in red, they've seen a reduction when they put the mandatory mask in. The mask is just another layer of protection for us to fight this spread of COVID. It's the matter of if you're in front of someone, whether you're 6 feet or not, if you have a mask, if you don't have a mask on and you sneeze versus having a mask, it stops it from spreading as fast. This is just about the safety and the of the citizens against the spread of this virus. We found that those who wear it, and we're clear about wear your mask when you're out in public, where you're out in public places and spaces. It's not for you. It's for those who you want to protect against. So I think council move forward. The mandate is already at the state level, and the governor's already made that clear. I'm just asking council to affirm that and say that you are standing with the governor and you want to protect the safety of the citizens of this community.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Adams-Act, I saw your hand.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. President. I just reading through the legislation, I mean, I would support it if it was a resolution, but reading the legislation and the people that are omitted, I think it could be, there's too many variances there, and it seems as though a lot of people can seek medical excuses not to have to wear them, and the age requirement of, we're speaking of protecting people from sneezing, but I believe that data showed that children are carriers, but they don't often display symptoms, and children are omitted from this legislation. I believe it was like 6 and under. So they don't have to wear masks, but are going to, in essence, put people's health at potential jeopardy. Like I said, I encourage people to wear masks, would support a resolution, but not a mandate in terms of legislation.
Councilwoman Davis.
Sure. Just to.
I can come back to you if you need to put the door away.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
Councilwoman Turner.
Yes, thank you, Tara. I don't know if we lost her. Oh, she's still here. Tara, can you please tell us what our current numbers are and what's the current climate with from before when this was what 2 weeks ago to now?
Tara, you can respond. Did we lose her? Okay, I'm not
I'm
sure if we
sorry.
lost her. Oh, okay, go
Can you
ahead.
guys hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am on two different call-in numbers, I believe. So the first question, in Youngstown, we have 646 cases with 89 hospitalizations and 40 deaths. So that's been pretty constant for the last few days with the numbers. We did see a little bit of an increase because of the additional testing that's come through with our National Guard pop-up site. So of, I think, approximately 750 people that were tested there, and most of them from Mahoning, Trumbull County, and Youngstown, we had like 28 positives out of the 750. So we did see a couple of them coming in from that. And, there is a lot of testing going on everywhere right now, from our hospitals to you see pop-up sites at Rite Aid, Walgreens, whoever can get their hands on these tests. So right now the tests are there. An issue we are seeing right now is the labs are overwhelmed because of the testing. So the state is trying to get a hold of that and address that with additional labs being set up and state labs kind of taking over and trying to expedite that. But that's our current issue. It seems like things kind of go in waves every week. We have a new thing. So that's where we're at right now. With the masks in the city of Youngstown, I've received probably, I'd say, 15 complaints over the weekend for masks. Most of them are coming from our facilities where I think people aren't concerned about running into a gas station or a convenience store. So we have distributed masks to most of our regulated facilities. Anybody with basically a license with the city, we stopped at with myself, our inspectors, the health commissioner, and dropped off boxes. So when people do walk in these facilities, they can get a free mask. The facility doesn't have to feel like they have to scold anybody or yell at anybody. They can just say, there's a mandate by the state that you're required to wear these. Here's a free mask. So we don't want any confrontation between our inspectors, our facilities in the city of Youngstown to kind of have to enforce those things. I think, like Councilwoman Adams-Ack said, it is a concern for us to be pushing that. We don't want the police to be involved either unless we absolutely need them. So the health department's been responding to those complaints and taking it as an educational opportunity. It's just to the benefit of everybody that's kind of regulated by this, especially our bars and restaurants. It's in their best interest to kind of adopt the policy to enforce these mask requirements. Because what we're seeing with the positive numbers, through tracing, we're seeing, in the mass gatherings where people are in restaurants, in bars, especially ones maybe late at night that we're not regulating or there's not enforcement out there, we're tracing a lot of positives to them. So there's been a heavy emphasis on trying to control those environments. Everybody wants to keep them open too. So we just let people know if we can follow these requirements and these mandates for everybody's health and safety, really prevent this from spreading, then everybody can stay open and we can move forward. So what we don't want to see is future spread tied to these events, kind of communicating it that way to the community on this is why it's important. I mean, if you believe it or you don't believe it, it's still going to keep the economy going. Maybe we can sell it that way to people.
Thank you, Tara. Let's see, Julius and Anita, but keep in mind, the motion is on the floor. Again, I know there's a lot of debate, but again, you guys can vote this up or down if you don't agree with it. But Anita and then Julius.
To the chair, the number was 40 deaths. Now, I'm not saying that these masks could have prevented them, particularly early on when we didn't know, we'd had no kind of data. But if the wearing of this mask can prevent one future death, it's worth it. It's worth the inconvenience. This piece of legislation doesn't make it a requirement for the police to give a citation, to give a ticket. The police can just easily just roll up on a person and say, you know, you need to go put on a mask. The other part is, while there is a state mandate, in the city of Youngstown, we have our city ordinances parallel our state ordinances right now. Okay, our officers can charge under the city ordinance or the state ordinance. And there's a dollar reason why, literally a dollar reason why they charge under the state now, when before they always charge under the state. So the fact that this piece of legislation would mirror something in the state, I don't think that's a problem, a reason to not pass it. And like I said, if one life can be saved, is that too much?
Thank you. Councilman Oliver. And
Thank
then we're
you.
going to go to the floor for a vote.
So it's kind of both, like to Anita's point and Councilman Ray's point, there is already a state mandate. So we've already seen across the nation where there are certain sheriffs and law enforcement that are basically saying either they won't enforce the mask or it's kind of like impossible or very tedious to enforce the mask. So I guess my question would be, how do we as a city plan on enforcing our citizens to wear a mask, even though I think it should be more of a, since it's already at the state level, the mayor already issued an executive order to wear a mask. So how are we going to enforce when I think the citizens should be able to decide morally, like, yeah, I'm going to wear a mask because they're saying it prevents the spread. How do we enforce that as a city? If the police roll up on somebody and they say put on a mask, and the guy's like, no, I don't think the mask is going to stop anything or help anything, does he then get a citation? Does he go to jail? How does this work?
Who are you directing your question to, Councilman?
I guess it would be Chief Lees or Jeff or the mayor.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir, Mayor.
if I could add some clarification to this. We've been dealing with this pandemic since March, and our local law enforcement have been very active with people with mass gatherings. The law enforcement have, once they find out these issues are out there, they'll give them the warning, and even to wear a mask. They're even offering it to you for your case, even with the health department. If we go to an establishment and the owner of the establishment is not willing to enforce it, we're giving them a warning and say, here's some steps you can take to do so. So it's not just all about penalty first. It's about warning, it's about education, and then we move into that realm of citations. We've had many situations where we've gone out to mass gatherings since March, and when we get there, if we give them the warning and they adhere to the warning, they don't hear anything back from us. So it is not citation first, it's warning, it's education, and then we would move into the citation process.
Thank you. All right, so the motion is on the floor. Clerk, if you could just roll call on the passage, we can vote it up or down.
Adamzak,
No.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
No.
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
No.
Ray,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
4 yeas, 3 nays. Mr. President?
Reads up.
President Kitchen,
Yes.
we're finished with the vote, 4-3.
You might have froze up for a minute to maybe.
Oh, I was gonna say, I said all of that. I'm sorry.
You repeat the vote that it passed.
No, I got the 4-3. I said it was passed, but not as an emergency.
Okay.
Well, we didn't
And
hear
I went
that.
on, I'm sorry. I may
We
have
That's your,
frozen.
that's your story. I stick to it too.
All
We
right,
have one more
ordinance
item on the
number
agenda.
20-135.
To revise the Youngstown codified ordinances by adopting current replacement pages, Part 9, Streets, Utilities, Public Service Code.
Councilman Ray.
Mr. President, I'd like to place ordinance 20-135 before council for passage.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman McNally. Roll call on the passage.
Adamzat,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes,
McNally,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Ray,
Yeah.
Turner.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Ordinance 20-135 has been passed. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our agenda. I want to thank the public for your patience. There were a few glitches and technical difficulties, but thank you for your patience. Thank you for joining us. Our next regularly scheduled special city council meeting will be Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. So if you could mark your calendars accordingly. I'm going to go first ward. Councilman Oliver, do you have any closing remarks?
Just want to call on our citizens to stay as safe as possible, help keep your neighbors as safe as possible, and keep pushing Youngstown forward. Thanks.
Councilman Hughes.
stay safe. Thank you.
Don't mention it.
Councilwoman Turner. Hello?
Chuck, okay. I'd like to just,
Councilwoman.
can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd like to echo the sentiments of Councilman Oliver and Hughes, and just by saying, be safe as you move, wearing your mask, social distancing, washing your hands, and protecting all of those that can't protect themselves. So that is our children, that is our elderly, that is our vulnerable. That's really important throughout this time. So just remember, as you move, it's really not about you, it's about the community at large and your neighbors, friends, and family. Thanks.
Councilwoman McNally. Michael Ray. I'm sorry.
Yes, just stay safe, wear a mask, keep your distance.
Councilwoman McNally.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it is so important to continue to heed social distancing and wear a mask when you're out there, please, especially as we're trying to go back to school in certain areas and things are going to get trickier for people. Please just think of the other people out there that you're coming into contact with. And even if you are fully healthy and it's not affecting you, you can spread it to someone who maybe is taking care of someone who's vulnerable or is vulnerable themselves.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis.
Yes, I do echo my colleagues here on City Council. I urge the public to please wear a mask. I can't say it often enough. We had 40 deaths, and if we'd had 40 homicides by way of a gunshot, we would be up in arms, and we would be demanding proactive activity from the police department. So important for you to wear that mask. And I speak selfishly because I am in that elderly category. And my mom is 95. She will be 95 in 2 weeks. And I want her to be here a whole lot longer. I don't want to see my mom or anyone being placed at risk. This is serious, people. It's as serious as it gets. Please wear that mask.
Thank you. Councilwoman Adams-Ack.
My colleagues already, they covered it all. Thank you.
All right. Well, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned at 6:15 p.m. Thank you all for joining the special council meeting. Enjoy your evening.